Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Duck Dogs. I am Josh Miller, and I'm your host for this show. So, hope everyone had a great Easter weekend. I know I did, along with my family. You know, it's always interesting. Those of you that have kids will be able to understand where I'm coming from. But adding kids into holiday weekends adds a whole another element. We're talking, not getting naps. We're talking on the road. We're talking go. We're talking overstimulation. Makes things very interesting. But always great to see everybody. My brother and his family came in from Michigan, and so it's always good to see those guys. And I have a new little godson, and so got to see him. And yeah, it's hard when family isn't close because you get to miss some of this stuff. But it's always good to see those guys. So I hope you guys had a great Easter weekend as well. Before we get going here, let's make sure to thank our sponsors because this show doesn't happen without them. So thank you to Eukanuba. Eukanuba is the presenting sponsor of Duck Dogs. Eukanuba, the premium performance sport 3020, is the blend that I feed my dogs, my personal dogs, as well as the dogs at the kennel. And I would highly recommend this food for anyone looking to feed a premium, high-quality food to their dog. I cannot say enough good things about this food. We are feeding less food than we have in the past. We're getting better results and results across the board, really as far as, coat, energy level, recovery time, you name it. And so Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020. 3020 would be the blend of the protein and fat ratio. If your dog doesn't need something that high, and why your dog would need that, let's do a little education here. Why your dog would need that is that the dog works. It needs that extra fuel, the extra energy. And if your dog doesn't need that, well, look at maybe like the 26-16, where you kind of lower that fat protein ratio. The dog doesn't need as much, and you'll find what works best for your dog. So go check them out. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 is my blend. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck has the 5-star crash test rated, both in the large and intermediate sized kennels. And I believe it's the only large 5-star crash test rate out there. And so go check them out because it is tested to be the absolute safest place that your dog can ride, can travel in. So go check them out, www.luckyduck.com. And also thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear, it is the best gear that I have worn. I wear it all year round, training, hunting. I'm going to be going out turkey hunting out in Wyoming here next weekend, and I will be head to toe in Sitka. So go check them out, www.sitkagear.com. So I have quite a bit that I kind of have to go over today, and it's just kind of interesting how these topics end up coming up because, believe it or not, it's not always the easiest thing to come up with topics, especially when I don't have guests come on and I don't have kind of that back and forth dialogue very often, and so sometimes topics can be tough. But sometimes days like today that these topics kind of jump out at me, and over the past couple of days I've seen things or things have happened that just make me want to talk about these things. And so a good question is, why don't I have guests on? Yeah, I guess that's something that we really haven't ever talked about. And a lot of it has to do with my schedule. So during training season, I'm very weather dependent on my schedule. So I like to get going early in the morning, really capitalize on that nice cool time of the day. And that's an ideal day. But what happens when it's raining? What happens when it had rained the night before? What happens when, so many things play into this that sometimes I can't schedule. And so it just makes it difficult to bring people on that way. But I try to bring in, like, Whitney's hopefully you guys enjoy that. She is so incredibly knowledgeable, but so incredibly gifted at what she does. I wish, and maybe we'll find a way to do this, but I wish that there was a way that that we could have you guys watch one of her whelpings, especially when something goes wrong. And I know, shocking, you're working with animals, not everything is perfect, right? Especially in the social media day and age that we live in, everything should be perfect, shouldn't it? Well, it's not. And when stuff goes wrong, I really believe that's where you see who is really, really good at what they do and who's not. Whitney is really, really good at what she does. It's amazing watching, her, bring some of these puppies that are stillborn back to life, where a lot of people go, oh, shoot, stillborn, move on. Literally saving a life. When a puppy gets stuck, what does she do? When a mama doesn't, it's incredible what she does. And, she's a wealth of knowledge. I love having Brett come on because, Brett comes from a more of a consumer, perspective as far as, he asked the same questions that a lot of other people do as far as, hey, I'm struggling with this with my dog. What do I do? More, got the puppy and is in the moment training. But yet, because he travels so much with me, he gets to see these different situations and he sees them through a different lens than I would. So I think, that's interesting. But that's why, I'm not saying we wouldn't ever do this going forward, but just it's tough in my schedule is why I don't. But a few things really jumped out to me. So first off, let me kind of go over a personal, thing that hit me like a ton of bricks. I've been really watching this more and more with people. And so because it's been so impactful to me, I wanted to share with you just in case it would be for you. Okay. So I heard somebody say a saying that I quite frankly had never heard before. A lot of you guys probably had, but I hadn't. And it made me think, and then it made me observe. And it's incredible how true this tends to be. And so the saying was a new friend of mine. He's getting a puppy. You'll see a lot of this because we're going to do a lot of documentation on this or on the Riverstone Kennels page. But he said that you are the average of the 5 closest people in your life. So you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I was like, well, I don't know. Kind of hee and haw about it. And I wouldn't say this is true for everyone, but I'm shocked with how when I look at this and I look at other people and I kind of evaluate them and I watch them, people that are close to me in my life, so I actually know them, like my brothers, my father, people I'm really close with, and I start watching this, and it's very true for a lot of people. You have someone that you think, man, like I wish that they would do like that next level, right? Like take their life, take their career, take it to the next level. Then you start looking at the people they're surrounded with, and you're like, well, holy cow, like no wonder, right? It's really interesting how true, this can be, and how I think what it does is it just makes you kind of sit back and reevaluate to make you go, okay, so I want to grow as a person. I want to get to that next level, whether it's, in my career, financially, personally, with my dog, right? I think this is very true, right? So if all the people around you don't care about the dog stuff and they have no interest in it, and their dog, breaks on their hunts, and their dog doesn't retrieve a hand, and their dog's never casts, it's very difficult for you to motivate yourself to get there. But on the flip side, if you have other friends, even 1 or 2 other friends that have that, and you're going to hunt with them, that naturally pulls you forward, right? Because you don't want to have the dog that doesn't do that. You don't want to have the dog that breaks and ruins the hunt. You don't want to have the dog that blows off your whistles, doesn't handle when you're trying to get him to. Like, it's embarrassing. But how many people that I have seen that have said, well, my buddy's dog's break, so I'm just going to let my dog break too. Otherwise, he doesn't get any retrieve, right? And there comes the justification. It's incredible. So for whatever reason, I felt compelled to share that with you today. Maybe someone out there needed to hear this. Maybe someone out there, needs to reevaluate, their circle. But just think about that. You are the average of the 5 closest people in your life. I was told by somebody a long time ago, and I actively try to do this. I was told by what I'm going to call a business mentor. He said, the best thing that you can do to continue to grow and continue to elevate yourself is to intentionally try to be the dumbest person in the room once a month. This is kind of what he was talking about. If you can make sure that once a month you are in a room of people that are all more educated than you, they're more talented than you, they're more, and just over like where you want to be, right? More articulate, sharper, quicker. That's going to push you to be that. And that was a great, great tip. And I continue to reflect on that. I continue to try to actively do that. It's easier said than done. But I think that principle is true. If you can be intentional about it, you can be very successful with that. And that's really interesting. So for whatever reason, I felt like I should share that with you. So there you have it. Go analyze your inner circle. Before I move on, thank you to Gundog Supply. Gundog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs. Going into train season, everything from poppers to dummies to launchers to you name it, you can find it there. So www.gundogsupply.com. So now that we've bettered ourselves, let's dig into a couple topics I want to talk about today. So the first one is I want to talk about humanizing our dogs. And I don't believe I've ever talked about this, but this is something we see a lot of. We see more and more of it. And so I want to dig into a little bit because I think this is a topic that is so interesting. And right away, I know if you're listening, you likely had one of two reactions. It was I don't want to hear this because I know that it's what I do. I know maybe I probably do it over the top, but I'm going to be guarded with it because it's my thing. Okay, and that's okay. Just hear me out. Or you're the other side of the fence where you're like, thank you. Like, why do people do this? And it's so bad. It's so awful, right? So, and I get that too. But I'm going to first just bear with me through this because I have somewhere that I'm going with this that I don't think many of us really think too much about. But I'm going to kind of straddle the fence here because I can see both sides. Okay, so first, I can definitely see where humanizing our dogs, is something that we're just naturally going to do. Whether you think so or not, I would almost argue you're going to do it to an extent at some point, regardless of who you are. It's just one of those things. And an example that I have is, my goodness. I can tell you that at the kennel, we have seen the full gamut of this dog is a dog, it's a tool, it is a hunting, now we don't get this very often. I bet I can count on one hand in 10 years the number of times we've gotten this. But we see more of the other side. The side where the dog's going to be in for 120 days and someone literally brings in 120 Tupperware containers and it's each meal. So every day the dog is supposed to get one of these pre-made meals and it's a meal. I'm not making it up. I promise I'm not making it up. Okay. We have the people that they want to bring, their own dog bed because there's a certain stiffness of mattress that the dog prefers. Otherwise, it doesn't get the sleep that he needs. Right? It's comical, but it's true. And okay, so let me kind of dig into this a little bit. So I honestly don't think that everything with humanizing your dog is a bad thing. Because I do love how much our clients or our people such as yourself that are, living it, I love how much you love your dog. That is the most important part of this whole thing. I love how much you love your dog. But there are a lot of repercussions that can come with humanizing or over humanizing the dog. So I think that by humanizing the dogs to an extent, it allows us as people to feel like we can connect with the dog better, communicate with the dog better, feel like they're a part of our life, integrate them into our life better. All that's very positive. But when we do things like the dog has to have a meal every time we have a meal, it's not the way the dog's body works, right? So, weight problems. Overfeeding your dog tends to push dogs to obesity. Obesity causes mental and physical issues, just like people. We're not doing them any favors. We had a client one time come in and we talked about, so one thing around weight that I think was a hugely impactful thing that I heard Dr. Joe Spoo, who's a great, very renowned vet out of Sioux Falls. I heard him give a seminar one time where he made the comment that when you're out in the general public, if you are not having people tell you that your dog is underweight, your dog is probably overweight. And I was like, huh. So weight is a huge deal, right? How about quite frankly, the behavioral side of things, right? So when we overhumanize our dogs, there's a lot of behavioral things that can come from it, right? So we don't reprimand our dogs, right? We don't show them where the line is. And then all of a sudden there are behavior problems and we're like, where's this coming from? It's amazing how often people don't go to the dog, right? There's got to be something going on. Well, how about the dog just doesn't have a leader, right? So when you look at a dog and how a dog operates and understands, so first off, we talk to our dogs way too much. This is part of humanizing too, but I also feel like this is a part of being human. I'm a prime example. I love talking. On the flip side, I talk to my dogs very little because how dogs communicate is body language. Yes, verbal cues are important. Yes, following through and making sure that they're clear verbal cues is important. But the less talking that you can do, if you watch a really, really talented dog handler, he's probably talking, or she is probably talking to their dog very little. It's one of the most, I think, probably one of the biggest things that people sit back and say, wow on. You're not yelling. You're not come. It's one time. Sometimes it's not at all. It's just body language. Dog's right there. So, the behavioral side of things, I think, is really important. And when a dog doesn't have a leader, the dog is going to step in and maybe do some things they shouldn't do, right? Because no one is leading them. How about the anxiety that can come from that? I know that that's a behavioral thing to an extent, but anxiety is a huge deal, right? So if you live that dog's entire life, let's just use the first 2 years of that dog's life. They're with you. They go everywhere with you. They're part of the family. They do it all. And then all of a sudden you guys are going to go to Hawaii and the dog can't come. So now for the first time in the dog's life, the dog is away from you guys, has not been socialized properly, has not been away from you guys to build confidence. That dog has just been put into an extremely stressful situation. There's a whole list of issues that can come from that anxiety and the stress that's revolved around it. I always tell people when they bring these puppies home, and they're, if they talk to me about training, they're like, I want to do some of the training myself. I want to, but I don't know. And I'm like, all right, here's what I would do. Send the dog in for just the bird and gun introduction. Just bird and gun intro. And the reason that you send the dog in just for bird and gun intro is not necessarily because of even the bird and gun introduction. It's because at a young age, we detach the puppy from you guys in a very confident building situation. Tons of socialization, both with new people and new dogs. They're happy. They're safe. Oh, yeah, and by the way, they get to learn that they love birds and desensitized to guns the proper way. Win, win, win. But I believe the most important part of that bird and gun introduction is the mental soundness that comes through it with being detached from the family. The other thing is they're treated like dogs when they're at the kennel, right? There's exercise time, there's work time, there's rest time, there's eat time, there's sleep time, and we do everything over again. It's very structured, but they're not laying in bed with us at night, right? They're not giving, not table scraps. They're not riding in the front seat of the truck. They're not doing they are understanding who they are. I think it's a huge, huge deal. We see so much confidence come through that. But here's where my mind kind of gets blown. Is that if you are in the humanizing your dog camp, I'm going to just bring this part of it up. Because I think this is a real thing. I've never heard anyone talk about, or I've never heard anyone, I guess, even reference this before. But just think about this, okay? I believe the people that humanize dogs humanize their dog when it's convenient for them to humanize them. What do I mean by that? Well, I think that when it comes to their dog, there are just things that if the dog was actually your child, not your four-legged child for dog moms and dog dads out there, but if this was really your child, there would be some things that I think naturally you would approach differently. Okay, example. We're very fortunate. I'm going to take that back. We're not fortunate. We work our tails off for this. But we very, very rarely have any kind of issues at the kennel when it comes to illnesses that go around. Like kennel cough is super common, right? Kennel cough essentially is the flu for dogs. It is extremely contagious. You can vaccinate for it all day long, and it doesn't fully guarantee anything. There's a ton of different strains for it. So oftentimes if one does get viral and get around, the vaccination doesn't even really protect against, and if you're a vet out there going, whoa, this is just what I've been told, right? Because I'm not a vet, very open about that. But it doesn't even protect against the full string, a full gamut of all the strands out there, right? So this was probably, now I have friends of mine that have kennel cough go through their kennel 2-3 times a year. Okay. I can count on one hand the number of times that we have had it come through in 12 years. But we do it we are cleaning twice a day, daily. All right. So we're trying to do everything, but it's a virus. You don't know. So the last time that it came through was I think a year or 2 years ago now. And I know what dog it came from. And it's very easy to find out because a few days after this dog came in, all of a sudden she's kind of showing the symptoms, right? So she's got like this, it's just like a cough, right? And it's one of those things that for me, because I'm defensive about it, I hear that, like I could hear it a mile away. Like I'm outside the kennel and hear, I'm just like perk up. I'm like, what was that? And I'm sitting there listening for it again. Hear it again. I'm like, oh my gosh, like immediately, right? So this particular dog came from Colorado, and this is a traveling tip for you guys. Don't stop at places that all the other people that have dogs stop at. you want to pick up a virus or pick up something, that's the best place to pick them up at, because although your dog may be well taken care of, vaccinated, your regular vet visits, kept up on health checks, not everyone is like that. So if you want the best place to pick something up at, stop at a rest stop, a truck stop, something like that, right? Avoid it. It's just better off. But this individual, and he's a great, great guy, client of ours, for years. He comes out every year. He's originally from Minnesota, lives in Colorado, and every year comes, drops the dog off, with us while he goes on a fishing trip with his buddies. And it's just great. I love his dog. We've had her in every year, and so I've gotten to have a real connection with her. I love the dog, love him. A great, great person. But a few days after he drops her off, this starts happening. And immediately I am like, oh my gosh. So we take her, quarantine her, and we have a separate room just to keep, in case something goes wrong. A dog gets hurt, a dog gets sick, something like that. We can, better not only monitor them, but just keep them away from everybody else. Well, as you can imagine, everyone in the kennel already had it. We just hadn't seen the symptoms of it yet. So sure enough, because I think usually kennel cough is like a 4 to 10 day thing before you can start seeing symptoms. So you just never know. But a few days after, cough, cough, cough. Now, all the other dogs are starting to do it. So now I have dogs that are, I have to take care of, right? So we get the antibiotic at our vet. We're doing all the treatment there. Yes, it's usually a very mild thing. We just throttle everybody back so we're not exerting them. We give them, the medicine that they need, and they get over it. Not a big deal, right? If it were to be a big deal, it's when you let it go and it turns into pneumonia and things like that. We've never had a situation like that, but because we always, first sign of symptoms, we always get ahead of it. So, you're always going to have one, right? So during that time, we had one individual, and this person was, like, you knew right away, very over the top. Very, my dog is a person, my baby, my fur baby, calling or emailing literally every day or every other day for check-ins, right? Like always wanting photos, and I get it. I get you miss your dog. But we talk about this at drop-off. Hey, we have busy days. We have a lot going on. We're going to communicate with you every week. We're going to send you photos. We're going to send you updates. We're going to send you all this stuff. But it gets a little over the top. And plus, like, from day 13 to 14, like, how much of an update do you think is there? Right? Like, you guys that work with your own dogs, probably not much. But, I think we do a very, very good job. So when this happened, of course, we contact everybody just saying, hey, just so you guys know, we have this going on in the kennel. We have treatments going on. If anything, were to, get where, we're concerned about it, we let you know, all that kind of stuff. So this individual, of course, calls right away, which I expected, not a big deal. But the comments that were being made, like if we're not keeping the kennel clean enough, or if we're not taking a good enough care of the dogs, or like all these things. And I'm just sitting here going like, what in the world? Like, if anyone has ever been to our kennel, they know that this is not an average kennel. This is not a kennel that is like my first kennel. Like, it was in a pole shed. I makeshifted it to make it work, right? Like this is a, not going to say the dollar amount, big facility that was strictly made for this. And we have 15, just want to make sure that's right, 15 employees that are dedicated to doing nothing but caring for the dogs, right? Like, these dogs are very, very well taken care of. And I'm just sitting there, and of course it was good, it was a good conversation, got done with it, but it was one of those things I'm just like, it just rubbed me the wrong way. Well, I don't know why I thought of that, the other day. I think it was because the humanizing the dog thing came up, and I kind of thinking, about that kind of stuff. But here's what really hit me. Okay. So I went then to pick up my kids from daycare, and their daycare, just like every other daycare I've ever been to, you walk in, there's, signs on the door. They're like, hey, here's what's going around, this classroom. here's what's going on in this classroom. Here's what's going on in the whole school, just so you know. If you see these symptoms, this is probably what it is. And I mean, there's always something up there, right? Like when you put a bunch of these kids into one area, like naturally they're going to get sick, right? How many of you have had kids? I hear parents say this all the time. I've never been as sick as when I had kids, because kids go to daycare, they pick stuff up, they bring it home, and I catch it, right? Okay, so time out a second. So when the dogs pick up a virus, like now, why is that different when the kid picks up a virus? Like I take my kid to school, he gets sick, I'm like, oh gosh, like, yeah, pick something up at school. Like, how could I turn in the same point, have a dog that gets kennel cough, okay, same thing, and go, whoa, like something's wrong with the kennel. Something's wrong with that kennel. That's what I mean by humanizing when it's convenient, for you to humanize. Like I had a lady just the other day that I didn't know, called me, wanted to talk through a situation, talk some advice, and you could just tell that this person was wanting verification from a professional that their dog was in the right. And so her dog got in a fight with another dog at a dog park, and now they're having this issue, and she just kept talking about how sweet her dog is, and that he's the best boy in the world, and blah 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 blah. I guess I don't know the dog, and she just kept going. Well, what do you think I should do? Well, first off, I am not giving you advice in this situation because I have no idea what happened. But the question I gave her was, so did you watch the fight happen? And she said, no, I was taking care of something, turned around, it was what happening. I was like, okay, so how do you, she had said that her dog got attacked. Okay, so how do you know that your dog got attacked? Oh, because my dog would never. My dog would never go after another dog. My dog would never go out. Okay, so he would in the right situation. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a dog, right? And you put, especially boys, you put a couple boys together and things can happen. It's just naturally what goes on. And this is where, like, to me, maybe my mind works differently, right? But if it was my kid that got in a fight, right, and I was going to reprimand him, I don't care if he started it or not, unless it was for the right reason, if I were to be very, very honest as a father. But if you're fighting because you're trying to be a tough guy, and like, I don't care if you started or not, you're getting in trouble, right? Like, I just don't see the difference with the dog, right? Like, how could we possibly think my dog would never do something like that? Like, they would. They're a dog. That's the part where I just don't. I have a hard time with this, right? Because the humanizing part of it. This is where it gets us into trouble, right? I love that people love their dogs, but I just think we have to be careful with that, because that line is really, really tough. We had this was a couple years ago. I just thought of this, which is kind of a cool story. So a couple years ago, we had some people over these seeing their what was their female, which had just had puppies, right? So family comes over, it was great, and these puppies were kind of starting to get big enough where they're kind of starting some mischief a little bit, and one of the puppies kept going and like pulling on mom's ear, right? And the owners, of course, were like, oh, that's so cute that she just lets him do that, right? Well, at one point, she didn't let him do it anymore. And it was like you're just like really sharp, really quick, just and that puppy was and kind of like cowered away. Now, she never bit him, never even probably touched him, but she let him know where the line was. I'm not doing that anymore. So immediately, the human aspect goes, oh my gosh, what? She's never been like that. Why would she do that? Okay. Think about if we had more parents in this world that would do that, we'd have a lot less idiots out there. A lot less kids that cause mischief, that get into trouble, that go to jail, that do stupid stuff. Because there's the line. And if you cross it, something's going to happen. I watched that puppy, that one puppy, the whole rest of the time. I never, ever once again saw that puppy go at and grab mom's ears. Now, didn't mean that mom loved him any less. Mom was still right there with him when he needed something, or when he was off, would always look at him, make sure he was okay, like did everything the mom should. The puppy still loved mom, still wanted to snuggle into mom, still wanted to eat, still wanted to do everything. Nothing happened except a lesson. There's a line, you don't cross it. Everything's good. Life's good. We take everything so dang personally. That was one of the coolest things I think I've ever watched a mom and puppy interaction. Because it was just like, it was clear. It was clear to the puppy as much as it was clear to me. It's really interesting. But I just, if you're in the humanizing your dog camp, and be honest with yourself, like I said, it's cool if you do. Like, I love my dogs too. We have one dog that's allowed to sleep in the bed, Breeze, who is our 12-year-old setter, that I think she's 12 and it gets soft. She can be in the bed. If you have dogs sleep in the bed, that's cool. If you have dogs that ride in the truck with you, that's cool. I don't think it's safe, but it's cool. Do you? But I would just challenge you to just be able to identify when the dog points are, right? Don't overfeed. Do what is in the dog's best interest, not in yours, right? Sending the dog off for a birding introduction, get that extra socialization, get that extra time, get that extra work. That's all great. It's hard on you. Yeah, it sucks. There's so many positive things going on inside that dog's head. It's great. It is great. Let them do it. They're not a kid. Okay? You can love them, be a part of the family, but just know where that line is. Interesting stuff for sure. Thank you to Retriever Roadmap. I know it's my thing, but I'll tell you what, I have loved hearing the feedback from people off this program. It has helped them tremendously. It has helped where they've been hung up, whether it's with other programs or with books or DVDs, or just not having the knowledge of how to hit that next level. Retriever Roadmap has helped people get there. And it is interesting from all the way from taking a puppy home to developing that puppy to advanced handling. I mean, whatever your goals are, that program can help. I can assure you there has been a tremendous amount of time that has been poured into that program, and there will be a tremendous amount more poured into this program. It is a great program. I think you'd really enjoy it, and it is extremely affordable at $29 a month. $49 if you want the Plus program. There's a lot of benefits that come with that, but very affordable. Go at your pace. Pause or cancel at any time. It's a great way. I think it would help so many people. So go check that out. www.retrieverroadmap.com. So I have 2 dogs in right now that I just recently brought in from overseas, and I'd like to kind of keep you guys posted on them here this summer because I think it'll be kind of fun. I've never done this before because, quite frankly, I've just always been a little guarded with sharing the information of the dogs that get in because very, very few of them ever make it to where they stay with me. And so what happens is I get these dogs in. I like to have them for at least a year to really understand who they are, get their training done, finish their training, see what level they have, and then by me training them, I can see what are your natural strengths and weaknesses. What did you do really well? What was easy to do? Where were your hurdles? Because I promise you, every dog will have hurdles. Where were your hurdles? How do we overcome them? What's your ceiling? So many things that can be answered to me. How do you handle the hunt, right? So many things that can be answered to me. And but I've always been guarded because when the dogs don't turn out to be what I deem as special, which is a percent of dogs out there, then I feel like there's some sort of letdown from people going like, oh, like they didn't make it. I wonder what happened. I kind of get like, kind of nervous or nosy about like what happened to the dogs. The dogs always go to fantastic homes, fantastic homes. The last dog that, well, maybe not the last dog, a few dogs ago when I sent him home, he flew off on his private jet and lives on an 80,000 acre ranch. He's likely living a better life than I ever will. Okay, these dogs are very, very well taken care of. But for me as a breeder, I have to be so picky on what I'm allowing in my program. So when we look at our program, and I kind of look at the boxes that I have to check, this is where it starts. So I get the imports in and I start working with them. I mean, this is, just hanging out. Let's go in the garage. Let's go in the house. Let's go for a walk. Like, what's your temperament like, right? Who are you? And this is a great time of year to do this because Mother Nature has been apparently drunk for the last month because she doesn't know if she wants it to be spring, summer, or just back to winter because we were 60-some degrees here last weekend, and I'm literally watching the snow out the window right now. And so, I don't know. It's hard to get out and do much real training because of the weather. So it gives me an opportunity to do this and evaluate all this. And I think this is really, really good stuff. So I want to go into the imports just a little bit here. So with these imports, they both came to me in very similar ways. And so this is where my relationships come into play, right? So with my friends that I have overseas, that have taken years to develop these friendships. I mean, we talk on a regular basis about nothing, about just how things are going and how's life and how's the weather and all stuff. Like it's a constant thing. It isn't just a business transaction. And so when the right dogs come up, I'm the first phone call. And so both of these dogs came from similar situations. And so I have a dog named Tucker and a dog named Theo. And so Tucker came to me. Actually, let's go over Theo first. So Theo, a good friend of mine overseas, had this dog. And he's like, Josh, I think he's going to be a really, really nice dog. Like, I don't think he's going to be the field trial dog. I don't think maybe he has that level of a motor, that level of a ceiling, but I think he'd be a great dog for maybe one of your clients or, who knows, but, I think it'd be good for you to get him and see. Okay, great. So I was going to bring Theo over, and about the same time, we get a phone call about Tucker. Now, Tucker is actually out of Brock's, and if you follow Riverstone Kennels, Brock is a complete stud. He's my boy, and I love him to death. But Tucker is out of Brock's sister. So obviously piques my interest right away, because I'm like, all right, well, if he can be anything to level that Brock is, I'm interested, right? Now, from a breeding standpoint, it makes things tough, right? Because you get kind of very close in lineage like that, and just kind of handcuffs you as far as like it doesn't give you the diversity, right? But really excited about that. And the other thing is, like, I think Brock is 7 or will be 7. So Brock isn't young anymore, which is crazy to think about. I still remember when he came over, he had an import, just this young dog, just eager and happy. But both of these dogs, so both Theo and Tucker, came to me because of relationships. And I have people, I on a regular basis have people reach out to me on social media that say, hey, I'm looking to get into breeding British Labs. Can you give me the names of your contacts overseas, so I can contact them? It's like, no. So two things. One, from a business standpoint, that's just not smart, right? I'm not trying to not be helpful, but it's just not smart. And then two, maybe it's not understood, but my friends would not be happy with me if I was all of a sudden giving out their contact info. Not happy at all. It is not worth ruining or damaging relationships just to give someone, contact info. So, but that's happening more and more. I'm not going to talk about it because it's going to drag me on a whole nother rabbit hole. But, if the dogs weren't good, they would tell me they weren't good. And they would tell me likely that they were selling them to somebody else in the States that they're going to charge way, 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 way more for. And it's a dog that I don't want anyways. And I'm just not going to get drugged down the hole. I'm not going to get drugged down. But it is very difficult. It's really, really tough. So when these right dogs, become available, it's great. And when I say right dogs, one of, both of, or neither of these dogs may end up being with me forever. Like they may fit me, they may not. Like, I'll tell you what, Theo, to me, like, I don't see where he doesn't have the motor. Like, this dude is flying. Big motor. So, and you see that sometimes. You see that with, a dog may handle differently for one person than another. But I won't really know until I dig into it. So that's what I'm looking forward to this year, is really digging in with these two dogs to learn who they are. What level are you at? Okay? Once in a great while, you get a dog that checks all the boxes. For those of you that have followed along, Solo, he checks all the boxes. Like, I'm not 100% ready yet, but I'm 99. Like, the dude's staying. He has made the cut as far as I'm concerned. He has one more thing he has to prove, just obtaining titles. But, the dude is a freaking rock star. I love his motor, love his drive. He's literally laying in the house as we speak. Like, the dude just has it all. And he has, what really excites me about him is that, very much like Brock, he just has something I can't put my finger on. Like, he has something that elevates him, something that makes him stand out, something that makes you go, wow. But I can't tell you what it is. But it's something. But once in a great while, you get that dog. And that's the problem. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, but I'm going to get dragged in there a little bit. That's the problem with when people are just importing dogs and then just breeding them. Okay, so one, if you don't know the dog, how can you breed the dog? How really can you breed the dog without knowing who they are, what their traits are, what their strengths and weaknesses are? How are they as a retriever? How are they as a trainability stand? Like, you don't know anything. My fear with the British Lab side of things is that, like, my friends overseas, why wouldn't they sell those dogs? Like, they're looking at this dog going, this dog doesn't make the cut. Not what I'm looking for. But you know what? If I sell this dog overseas to somebody that reaches out to me on Facebook, man, I can sell that dog for a lot of money and literally laugh about it afterwards. Like, the problem for me with that is that, like, how does that write the British Lab narrative? Like, I've literally worked to try to, overwrite what was written of these dogs are slugs, they're no motor, they're slow. Well, look at every one of my dogs, and you can't say that about any one of them. But I don't want this whole, the breed as a whole, because I feel like we're out of that. I don't want to get drugged back into that. That's my fear with this, and that's why I'm trying to be more active in telling the story. That's why I'm trying to be more active on the kennel page. Whitney does a great job showing, the insides of the puppy stuff. We have to help tell that story. And if we don't, other people are going to tell it for us, and other people, for the most part, I just don't think are doing it the same way we're doing it. So it makes it tough. But I'm going to kind of bring you through here this summer. So just, kind of keep in mind Theo and Tucker and Theo. And I think it'll be kind of fun. I'll be able to kind of update you guys as we go along here, kind of what I'm looking at, what I'm liking, what I'm not liking. Full disclosure, I'm going to be pretty critical because I feel like I have to be. I'm going to really dig into what exactly don't I like, or what exactly is going on I'm not sure of, or what exactly I love. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. But it's something that I think is interesting because hopefully would help you guys look at your own dogs and be able to, like, being critical isn't a bad thing. I think we've had these discussions before. I know I personally have had this discussion 2 or 3 times just since Retriever Roadmap came out on the Train Retrieve. Sometimes there's like this thought or this hesitancy, and it's like, oh, like if I have to go through the Train Retrieve, it means my dog's not natural enough. Well, who cares? Why does it matter? If he's not natural enough, like, go teach it. That's cool. Like, that's how you get better. Look at yourself. What can I do better? What am I bad at? Let me go get better at that. That's great. Sometimes, again, going back to the humanizing part of it, sometimes it's hard for us to identify and be critical on that. Find your dog's weaknesses. That's the only way you're going to get better. That's the only way you're going to progress. That's the only way you're going to reach your goals. Be critical. Don't rose-colored glasses it. Like, oh, like it's good enough. Oh, he actually is natural with his mouth, but I think he had this bad habit where, my mom gave him a chew toy one time and he shouldn't have done, like, just be real with yourself. Not natural with his mouth, never has been. What do I do to fix it? Oh, Train Retrieve, awesome. What does this look like? Oh, I'm going to follow Retriever Roadmap, step, 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 great. My dog is great now, retrieves a hand, soft mouth, all this stuff, awesome. Now we can go achieve all of our goals. Couldn't do it before, not very well. It's good stuff. But these imports, I'm really, really, really looking forward to digging into them. I'm really looking forward for all my dogs to be able to get back into it because I can tell you they are bored. They've had a few months off as the weather's kind of getting better. All we're doing is obedience or sitting on tables in the garage, just being like, it's all good stuff, but it is boring. It's as boring for me as it is for them. So it'll be really fun. It'll be fun to kind of take you guys through that. So kind of keep your eyes open for that. So hope you guys have a great week, and we'll move into the next episode here and keep kind of chugging along as hopefully spring starts to arrive. We can dig into more of the day-to-day training. So hope you guys have a great week, and we'll talk with you soon. Thanks.